All right, well, g'day there. Richard Musgrave-Evans here again and welcome back. Today, back in the studio, pretty excited. I've got a lovely little painting. I'm going to do a big version of it. I really like the small painting and I posted it on social media and a lot of people like it too. And I thought, well, this is the type of picture that you want to blow up and make a bigger version of. So, here we go. And I've just lightly sketched it in with a grey lead this time, ever so slightly different technique. Something else I'm doing which is also different, I'm using the oil paint, but at the same time I'm going to be mixing beeswax in it. So you've got the cold, what is it? Cold wax medium. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing that up, so we'll just do some here, let's have a look. Currently I'm just mixing it in and it's a real body, a beautiful kind of thick chalky feel to it, which is great for the palette knife laying it on. At the same time, it's great for laying colours next to each other, but also if you want to smear it, it seems to smear really efficiently. So for palette knife work, I'm finding it really good. It's great for the bulky chunks and it's great for blending them. What I've actually got is Viridian Green, Magenta, Phthalo Blue, Burnt Sienna, Alizarin Crimson, a nice red, Yellow Ochre, Titanium White, Chrome Yellow and Cadmium Red. That's definitely enough for what I'm about to do. All right, let's go for the darkest darks and start blocking in. I reckon what I'll do is, so I'll use a bit of Alizarin Crimson, beautiful red, and we'll go for the green. That's the opposite on the colour wheel, red and green. Put them together, you get a real dark. So, there we go. Okay. Just start putting that in. A bit more red. There's some nice darks going in. So we're going to establish some beautiful tonal values, starting off with the darkest darks in the foreground. Just lay that on. Beautiful. Darkest darks in the foreground, and the values, tonal values will recede as it goes further and further back off into the mountain itself. Let's just put these darks on and we can go over them, a lot of them later, but for now, these are Crimson, Viridian Green. For now, a bit more green. We'll just establish these darks and then later on we'll work out how much we want to leave. Out there, yeah. Alright, that's good there. Now, I might actually just go to a slightly smaller knife because I want to get some lovely darks. Might actually put a bit of blue with that too. That'll probably even darken it a little bit more. Let's have a look. Okay, so just going to have a building here, so I'm just going to establish the darks. Pull that in, go straight down, that's it. Alright, bit of a dark running this way. And I reckon I'll put just a little bit in here. Like that. Right, so we've gotten to that phase. The next layer back will actually be a slightly lighter tonal value already. I'm just going to stand back and make sure I get everything in the right spot. Okay, we'll go for the next layer. So I reckon I'll use some magenta, some phthalo blue, a little bit of white to lighten that value, a bit more than phthalo blue, magenta. I'll actually put a bit of green in just to knock that intensity so it's not quite chromatically as strong. That white lightens the value. So we've got blue, magenta and a little bit of Viridian Green to knock it back a bit. A bit more Viridian Green, a bit more magenta. Let's have a look what we've got. Okay. I'll actually get some brown to grey it off. I don't want it to be too strong in chromatic saturation. It's not a grey, but it's close on, you know. It's a warm, so you get the reds. That's about right. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. Yeah, just in like that, in like that. That'll be good. Now the next layer is just here. Going to go ever so slightly lighter because it's further back, so I've got a little bit more blue and a little bit more white, just to lighten that value. Time to get the big guns out, get the big knife out. That's better, now we're talking. That's it. That's about right, yeah. Slap that on there, bit of that there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, that's good. Now we'll go back another layer. Further back, we'll go bluer and lighter in value so we get more white. Now let's just try the bigger knife. More blue, more white. So it's lighter in tonal value. A bit of magenta. It burns in and knock it back. There we go, more white. It's definitely lighter in value. What do we got there? I'll compare it to the paint I've got on the original. Just got the painting sitting there, so I'm trying to compare the colours. Let's just have a look tonal value wise. Pretty light tone and slightly cooler. Put that on. Just needs a little bit more red, a bit more white. I want to keep it that same tonal value, black on the black and white scale. Here's white, here's black, somewhere in this range. So if I add more magenta, I've got to add a bit more white to keep it that same white value. Yeah. That's a little bit redder there. That's right. Something along those lines. Lighten her up a little bit, go slightly further back. That'll go on there, lovely. Draftsmanship here, working on the edges. Lighten her up a bit. That's looking pretty good. Now you can see here I've got a gradation going back. I'm just going to stand back now and have a look and see what I reckon, see if I've got it right. Okay. Alright, well that's looking pretty good. Now what I'll do is I might just put a bit of the light tone foliage up on there and then I'll get stuck into the sky. Alright, what do we got? We're going to be using more of that magenta and white, burnt sienna. I've got the shadow, plenty more burnt sienna. I've got the shadow values in already, now I'm going to go for the light source. Just mix that up. It makes it stiffer, it definitely makes it stiffer. What are we going to need? More blue. Getting a nice neutral colour here. Blue, red dominant, but the burnt sienna is to grey it off a bit. Let's be more red dominant. Like I've said before, to get the opposite on the colour wheel, you use that. Throw it into your mix and that'll weaken the colour saturation, and then the white itself will lighten the tone and make it closer to white. So as that goes back it goes lighter, but it also gets weaker in colour, but it gets cooler as well. So I'm using blues. There's the dominant thing. Let's have a look. Right, that's kind of green grey. Just need more red dominant. Big neutral colour here, but it's got a bit of chromatic saturation. that in. Let's have a look back to the original. Yep. Push that on like so. Get the coverage. Little marks, big knife. Place that on there. What do we got here? Right, hang on, that goes to there. Okay. Just got to make sure I'm getting the draftsmanship right as I go. It goes to there, that's a little bit of that shadow from there. Just getting rid of the board colour. I enjoy just working with the knife. It's a nice kind of chunk style, like chiselling, almost like sculpturing a piece of wood. Yeah, kind of chiselling the paint into these little marks with the big knife. Well, that's somewhere what I want, sort of. Let's have a look. Just in here, I'll just put a bit more. Might go a bit darker. A bit more blue, a bit more magenta. Just going to throw a few shadows in there. There's a little bit of a darker value. Like that, so you get the feeling of light and shadow. That's nice. That's it. Right. A bit more of that darkness in there, that's it. Break it up, that gives the feeling of foliage. There we go. A chunky style. Right, let me just have a look. Alright, that's good. Let's get that sky going, eh? Okay, for white, we're trying to make a neutral grey for the clouds, so I'm going to use a lot of that blue that we just made up, that blue-grey. With the browns, you have a bit of burnt sienna, a bit of magenta, and a bit of phthalo blue all mixed together. It's giving you a nice neutral greyish colour, but with a slight saturation of either brown, slightly magenta, slightly blue, vary it a little bit here and there. It's pretty good, the tonal value, just line it up to the original painting. Mix it a little bit more thoroughly. It's definitely, compared to just straight paint, this is definitely way more like carving. Like, it's just nothing like a brush. Thick beeswax. It'll go through there. Thick beeswax and a bit more of that. And straight paint with a knife. It's really chunky style. You'll have to give it a go, but you'll find it very different to using some sort of thinning medium and a brush. Like, this is just like sculpturing. And on the board, it's actually quite an interesting thing too. Painting on the board, it's just a flat surface, so you just, all these big chunks are just showing up. There's no texture of the canvas underneath, but that seems to be working well. Let's go for a bit more burnt sienna and magenta as we get higher. A bit more blue to grey it off a bit maybe. It's just a little bit darker value up top, not too dark. What have we got there? Trowel that on. Get that nice and neat up there. What are we doing? Yeah, down to about there. Go through there. Okay, let's just trowel that on. Going on beautifully. I find it with the wax medium, because it's so stiff, if anything, you need slightly less flex in your knife because you're pushing harder into it. A slightly stiffer knife is probably more appropriate. A bit more white. Alright, it's got the nice shadow tone now. What I'll do is I'll go for some of the pale blues. Let's have a look. Just get a bit of a paper towel here, clean this up. Just some of the sky colour itself. Let's go for phthalo blue again. Plenty of white. Now a twang of yellow ochre. More white to lighten that value. Beautiful stuff. Even more white. Just a little bit of that grey to knock it back. Phthalo blue is such a strong colour. Sometimes it needs to be knocked back a little because sometimes it's just a little bit too intense. So I've added a little bit of the greys from the sky, the clouds. Just analyse that. Just have a look. Yeah, see that needs, I reckon, go for a bit of magenta just to neutralise the chromatic saturation a little bit and make the sky a bit more of a neutral blue. So the yellow ochre and the magenta is really a yellow and a purple and opposite on the colour wheel again. Mix them together, they knock each other out a bit and take the intensity of the blue away. So it's a little bit more of a grey blue, but it's nowhere near grey because, like I said, phthalo blue is just such a strong thing. We'll put a bit in here. Alright. Alright, that's well and good. Now what I'll do is I'll go way more magenta, because what I'm trying to create here is the top of the sky, and it hasn't got the ochres in it anymore. It's much more of kind of a red dominant blue. So you got that magenta and the blue, rest of the ochre, and you get more of a red blue. More like an ultramarine, but in this case I'm not using ultramarine, I'm using phthalo blue and magenta. Could just have a slightly stronger saturation than that, so I've gone for more blue again. Less of the greys. Less of the ochre in there, just blue and red as in magenta. Go across. Lovely stuff. Nice and neat on the edges. And coming to there. Oops, what are we doing here? That's it. Alright, now I just want to fill in these lower parts. They will be more yellow ochre because it's getting lower in the sky. So white, yellow ochre. It's a lighter value. Got way more ochre in it. Let's just compare it to the original. Plenty of ochre. Alright, so that will go in here. A little bit of that down in here. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's looking good. Bring those together, nice little chunky marks, blend them. That's looking good. I actually like that kind of chisel marks. It really gives the illusion of detail. It's like the Impressionists, they get a lot of little block colours and sit them next to each other. It really gives the feeling that there's a lot of activity and a lot of sunlight going on. So yeah, the big nice is good, but if you go too big in marks, it becomes too slick and open. In some ways, it's nice to have those little chunky marks. Like I said, quite often getting little chunky marks with a big knife is a real interesting look. All right, let's have a look at that. It's looking quite good. Now what we need to do is get some of this foreground and get that light value there all covered, because it's going to be in shadow in the foreground. So we get it. I like to cover everything as quickly as I can, work around, never finishing anything until you've got something else done. All right, so we'll go for some Viridian green, burnt sienna, some more Viridian green, there'll be yellow ochre in it. Look at those extra values there, the greys that we've already got on the palette. A bit more burnt sienna, so it's not quite such a cold colour. Let me just have a look. Compared to the originals, not too far off. Needs a bit more yellow ochre. Bit more yellow ochre. I think that's getting closer to what I want. Let's have a look. Yeah, just position it around a little. Gives me an idea of what we're doing here. That'll go across there. I can see I'm going to need plenty more paint. Burnt sienna in the canister. There you go. Burnt sienna. Alright, burnt sienna, Viridian green, yellow ochre. Some of those cooler values, some of those sky colours here, we can just throw them in. More burnt sienna. More yellow ochre. So lighter value as it comes up here. Just dancing it around at the moment, getting an idea before I lock it all in. That's good. Push that around. Chunk it all around. Chunky style. Plenty of paint going on. Lovely. Bit more over here. Getting rid of all the board colour underneath. It's okay to leave a little flick here and there of the board, but most of it will be covered. A bit more straight green. The original's got a little fleck of darker streaks through here of more pure Viridian green, so I'll put that in like that. Good variety. Okay, now trail that stuff on, get it covered. Get a good coverage, plenty of paint. Once we've got all that paint, then we can work out what we want to do with it, but let's just get a nice body of stuff to play with. That's going on lovely. Look at that, chunky style. Just eliminating all the whites, like I was saying. Well, it's not whites, it's just the canvas. Well, it's not the canvas, it's the board. This board, by the way, is the board colour because it's got a clear primer on it. So it's a lovely earthy tone. A bit more burnt sienna and white. There's a bit more variety of dry, kind of like a dry grass inside it. A little bit of straw colour through here. So I'm just going to put some of that in, nice and chunky like that. That's beautiful. It gives a nice warm and cool within the grass itself. The grass is a fairly cool value, cool colour. Breaking it up with little marks like up here, bit of warm and cool like that is quite a nice thing. Let's go burnt sienna, yellow ochre, white. It's quite, where are we here? Just here, it's quite a very light value, which I'll put in. Yeah. That's all coming along well. Now what I'm going to do is just go back, knock it back a little bit into the distance. So I'm going to knock the chromatic saturation of the green off ever so slightly. So I'll throw some of these mauves in and all that sort of stuff, and pale blues from the sky into that green. A bit more of the mauve. No, that's knocked it right back. Let's have a look. Some areas are going to need to be a bit more magenta, burnt sienna. We still want it to be a green colour, but at the same time we want it to be staggered back, going back into the distance. So a bit more yellow ochre. Just feel it as I go. So it's yellow ochre and the viridian greens, whatever, but there's a fair bit of magenta and sky blue thrown in to knock it back. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's get that on. That's definitely gone back a peg. Put that on there. That's good. There's a bit of raw earth in here too, which is a real mauve. I'll throw some of this in here. That's gone back nicely. Receded. It's going to go through there. I might just throw a bit of bright yellow just as it goes back up the bank. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's a bit of this straight chrome yellow and green just to intensify it a little bit more again. Because as it goes up here, even though it's further away, it's just a little brighter. The light's hitting it a little cleaner for some reason. So it's just got a bit more of a chromatic strength in the saturation, which I'll put in. That's nice. Little chuff along there, like that. Yeah, that's good. Right, that's looking good, but we're going to have to keep on going. Let's keep on. Got to get some good coverage here. Yellow ochre, viridian green, all these cool colours. Throw all these sky blues in. Make use of them. Viridian green, yellow ochre to warm it up a bit because it's a little bit too cold with all that sky blue. Some of those greys to knock it back. It's all very much about weakening the chromatic saturation as you go back to get that three-dimensional drop off. You've got the darker tones gradually getting lighter in the shadows, but at the same time we're going to have intense colour here gradually receding in the paddocks as it goes further back, and that'll really give the illusion of three-dimensional distance into the picture, hopefully. Right, that's a bit too cold. We can use burnt sienna to warm that up. White to keep it to a lighter value. Let me just compare it to what we've got here. That's good, and it needs a bit more magenta in it and burnt sienna, which has just warmed it up a bit. Still miles away, which is great. It's really a long way away. Distance. Put that on. That'll scoof. What have we got here? So there's that there, just up in here, right. Fill that in. Like so. It's the paddocks behind this headland of trees just here. Right, take that up into there. That's nice. It'll come down in there. Now back over here, I'll just even cool off a little bit more and recede it a little bit more with some of these greys and whatever else. Send it right back. Lighten the value slightly, a bit more white. Let's see if we can send that right off into the distance there. Nice. Yep. That's good. Maybe a bit of that in there. Well, that part's done now. I'll stick some of the bare earth in itself, which is quite a magenta-y colour. Let's have a look what I've mixed up over there. Magenta and burnt sienna with the white. Magenta and burnt sienna. Blue to knock the saturation back. Let's make it a nice earthy brown sort of colour, not too strong in saturation. So I'll put a bit more of the blues again to weaken it off. White. Burnt sienna. Let me just see what I've got first. Alright, so I've got some bare earth over here, which I'll stick in. There's a paddock over there with bare earth in it, on it. And just the foreground one will have a little bit more intensity of colour. That'll be over here. Snap her in. Just there like that. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a bit more brown. Now right in the foreground here there's some really brighter, much brighter stuff. So I'm going to use cat orange, burnt sienna. There's a lot of variety and all these subtle tones and values will really make it go off. Burnt sienna, cat orange. I'll mix that here so it's a bit brighter. A bit more white with that to lighten the value off. There we go. High key colour. A little bright earthy colour here for some reason. What does that look like compared to the originals that I painted? The little study. That's about right. Comes in along there like that. It's just a narrow strip, so we'll put that in. About there. Right. Alright, that's good. Now this is all in foreground shadow like I was saying. There'll be some light source in here which I'll mix up now. I might just get the knife. What do we got? Get this knife. Get some of these bright colours. Chrome yellow. Just going to mix a little bit of this in as it gets more intense. A little bit more white with that chrome yellow. Alright, let's have a look. The sun's really shining in these areas, so I'm just going to put that in. Over here, I'll just go for some yellow ochre and chrome yellow. Need a bit more of an ochre colour as well. Yellow ochre in this area. Yeah. So we're gradually coming from a shadow into the light source. A bit more whites to lighten that value. And yellow. That's nice. Colour yellow is that? Gee, that's an intense yellow. We'll just use a bit of white with that to lighten it even more, make it like pure sunlight. I'm going to have pure sunlight up here against where the building's going to be, and this is our big contrast. More yellow there, stick her in, that's it. Nice. The light's just capturing the top of the grass, little broken marks again with the knife. Alright, so that's getting more of the feeling of the sunlight here, and there's just a little patch over here in the original little piece I've done, so I'll go some white, yellow again, streak her in. Streak her in nicely in there, pull it across, and that'll get gradiated off, but it's in there now. Good. Just here I'm going to put a little bit more direct sunlight too. Pull that through. Nice stuff. Alright, let's get some of, pull that through there. What I want to do now is put some of the light source on some of these shadows. They're just big shadows here at the moment. I need to put the foliage on top of them. Alright, so we'll mix up some yellow ochre, pretty and green. Look at those blues thrown in, let's have a look. A little bit bluer. Bit of phthalo blue. Grey it off a little, with a little bit of magenta. A little bit more blue. Just trying to match it to the original picky. A little bit more magenta. That's it. A little bit more brown, just make it ever so slightly earthier colour. Let's go for the big knife, eh? Don't muck around with that little one. That's better. Need to lighten it too, that's it. Pull that through like that. That there. Some of that in there. That's about it. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's have a look. I think I've got that one the right values and tone. That's good. Now I'm going to put this one here. So that's got a lot more yellow ochre in it. These foreground trees are a lot richer. Yellow ochre and burnt sienna. More yellow ochre. Let's see what we've got here. I'll just lay some on and have a look. Lightly pull it on. A bit more green in that. A bit more green. Pull that through. Put that on there. Sienna, I just want to blend it a little bit. What do we got? A little bit more of the greens, okay. Well, that's getting closer. Now we'll go for the next layer. Block this one in here. What do we got? A little bit in green and other things. Let's throw some in. That's more like pine trees, so it's got a certain sort of green about it. This is more like gum trees here, so that has more of a browny, earthy value than does the pine tree, which has more of that kind of green. Let's pull through. Well, I'm pretty happy with what's going on. I really feel like I'm getting that near to far, that depth, three-dimensional depth. So it's gradually reeling its way up. Now, this is still the board showing through here. I just want to put some of the light source of the cloud on. I reckon that'll really help. Yeah, I could probably go a little bit more burnt sienna. Maybe in some of these magentas and whatever to grey it a bit so it doesn't get too strong in colour. I want the right intensity. A little bit more of blue and magenta thrown in with the burnt sienna. And of course there's plenty of white. That's close on right. We'll just put that in. Just along here. Slide that in. That'll be a good accent against Mount Lofty itself. Pull that through there. A little bit more cloud light hitting the tops here. Yeah. Nice. Like that. Just using nice little marks, like I said, to give that feeling of heaps of activity, like the Impressionist broken light and all that. Okay, so that's nice. A bit more of that burnt sienna will go here. Drop a little bit in through there. A little bit up there. Then we've got plenty up here. I'm going to have to mix up a bit more of burnt sienna and white. Fast running out of white here. Let's see what I can do. Just need to intermix that with that. That's half mixed. The two are half mixed together. They're kind of grey, dusty mauve cloud. We also have a lighter value running through like so. And there's going to be a real white patch through here, which I'll put in when I get more white, that is. Let's get that light source on. We'll go for white. Maybe a twang of the yellow ochre thrown in with that white. Nice light value. But still, that's beautiful. Still with colour in it, like it's got a bit of yellow thrown in, as in yellow ochre. More white, more yellow ochre. Throw that across there. Big chunky accent, lovely stuff. Really feeling the sunlight and shadow. There's another chunk there. Bit more one there. So what I'm liking is when you get the little painting done and you like it and you've composed it beautifully and you've got the right blends of hard and soft, lost and found, then when you just enlarge it, you have already got everything in the right spot to make a pleasing composition. Because quite often, a lot of the time spent when you're painting is you're trying to organise the data so you can get a nice composition. But if you've already done it, once you put it into this one, you know that you've worked out all the problems beforehand. So I feel like that's what's going on here. I'll just stand back and have a quick look. Right, that's looking good there now. There's a nice little chuff of smoke coming off through here. It really pulls the picture together, I reckon. So get some white. Work with the blues. It's quite a blue smoke. So we've got the light blues. We've got a bit of blue over here from the sky blue. We'll mix that with the white. It's got a little bit more magenta dominant, so I'll throw a bit more magenta in that. More the blues. Just got to get the right value. What do we got here? That's a mixture of white, predominantly magenta, and of course phthalo blue. It's going to be here. That's it. Just little marks, pulling them together, making the smoke get, as it goes off, it becomes more and more dissipated. More of the background, less of the actual blue itself, and it'll spread out, look at that. There's a twang more of it, just drifting up here. Linking to the sky. Let me just have a look at that. Well, that's really helped add a bit of interest in there, but now what I'm going to do is try and get some of these buildings in and that'll really start pulling it together, I reckon. Okay, let's get some white. Use some of these greys over here, magentas and whatever else, because I'm trying to get that beautiful galvanised iron feeling. Pull that through like so. Maybe get a bit of burnt sienna to give a feeling of rust as well. Rusty old shed. Burnt sienna. Pull that down. That's it. Go over there. Keep throwing more paint on. So I've got the corrugated iron in that purpley blue colour. But like I said, there's a bit of rust colour thrown in, a bit of everything thrown in. It's going to be a bit of a red roof there. More blue down here. Just want to stick a bit of rust here. Lovely. Then I'm going to use a bit of cad red, real striking colour. A little bit of white to knock it back, maybe. A nice roof just here. Yeah, it needs more of the rusty colours. Burnt sienna rusty colours. I want it to be red, but at the same time, not too red. That'll be there. So I'm taking paint off now with the knife, like so. To get the draftsmanship correct. Pull that paint off. As you can see, the paint's coming off and you're revealing a nice open shed there. That one's working out well. I might stick another little shed down here. So I'll get some of those rusty colours, the galvanised iron silvery colours. That'll be around about here. Like so. That's so. Pull that down. Let me just see if I've got that in the right spot. Alright, I'll just keep working around now. Let's get some of that red with white, right in the value. Gonna have a nice red roof up in here. Pull it on like so. A bit more white with the red. There'll be a nice little roof here. There's one up in here. And up there. These little red highlights really make it pop. They really bring it to life. Well, we're just going to come in some white, just like in the original little one I did. Just putting some buildings in, some lighter values. Like so. There's little marks here and there. Feeling of activity going on. Occasional little building. There we go. I'm getting a lot in there now. It's all very broad and impressionistic, but it's giving the feeling of 3 dimension, and that's exactly what we're after. All right, a little bit of board here. Let's get the white, get the cads. Bit of yellow ochre. I'm just trying to mix up a bit of a really light paddock colour. There is a light paddock tone there. Stick that in. A bit of colour coming out here like that. Some other activity here, nice little something here. Just stick them in. Things happening in the landscape. Things are starting to come together, that's for sure. It's starting to get that real 3D look, which I'm very, very happy about. I'm going to get the knife here, cut down to this paddock, make this paddock a little bit cleaner. Just little tweaks here and there now, just you've got the big impression in and now you're just reeling it in enough to be convincing. I'm loving what's going on here with the staggering of the distance off into those beautiful clouds and chunky sky. It's such thick and impasto paint. It's all coming together. Knife on edge. Beautiful. Get some details in there. Using the knife and pushing the paint into certain areas, manipulating it. So, what are we going to do here? Let's get some brown and red. Make that real rust colour. Pull that down to there. That's it. Every mark you make like that, you've really got to get back to analyse, because every mark has a meaning and means something and does something to the picture. The more refined and finished it gets, the more each mark makes a difference. It's a little bit of something here, like a little woodshed or something, I don't know what it is, but it's corrugated iron, so I'll stick that in. Righty, yeah, just a bit of a building here, maybe. Throw that one in. Alrighty. Just keep on moving around, just putting refining marks in. I feel, let's have a look, stand back. Just going by feel, I feel like it needs a bit of refinement there for whatever reason. Lighten that value maybe. A few marks and bits of action here and there. Pull that in there. Little trees going up and down. It's all happening, just working around the picture. It's all big chunky style too, I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. Keep on working. Got the yellow and the white out. Soften that. Just trying to get this foreground how I want it. It's looking good. Alright, it's already really starting to come together now. I feel like now, and I stand back and look, I feel like there's just little things every now and then I need to do, but you've got to be really careful now at this stage, because who knows, it's so easy to wreck it. You've got the big impression. Every mark now makes a difference to the finished product, a big difference. So subtle changes. I feel like maybe I need to pull my eyes into here, so what I'll do is, I'll get some yellow ochre, maybe a bit of cad. I notice in the original I've got a bit of this going on, just a little bit of a light tone through here to draw your eye into there. Now I need to stand back straight away and look at that before I do any more, because like I said, everything makes a difference. Little highlight here. Bit of that there. Just got a bit of colour. Bit more of this. Straight line here, bit of a power pole or something. Vertical line. Bit more of that. There's a spot here, could be a car at the house. Just these little marks give the illusion of things going on. Activity. That'll be enough. In a minute I will, just do a tiny bit more, tiny bit more. All right. A little bit more here. Pretty happy with what's going on now. She's really starting to get reeled in. Absolutely fantastic. Just lightening some of the tones in here maybe. Give a bit of variety in the paddock. You've got the distance recession, obviously very bright colours here. Receding, 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 but at the same time you've got super brights here with dull. And then you've got everything slightly duller here, with you still need a little bit of bright for a highlight here and there. Now you've gone really dull in here as you've keyed it off, but a couple of little brights just to pull your eye in. Send it through the picture. This is so much about mark making. Like I was saying, that wax medium, I reckon is enhancing it. Like it really does sit there chunky, chunky, chunky style. They sit next to each other beautiful and they don't blend, they don't smear. But then if you want to smear it, because it's waxy, it blends really well, probably better than just straight paint. So you can do subtle, smooth blends, or you can have the paint warm and cool sitting next to each other, like orange and blue, yellow and purple, red and green. They'll just sit next to each other and they won't smudge. Beautiful stuff. Looks like it's chiseled, all chiseled. Can't wait to get that camera off. We'll get it off in a minute and we'll come buzzing in and have a look and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the paint, I've been using fairly big knives and the paint is chunked on and chiseled just like you're sculpturing and going chop, 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 chop. Up close, in real life, it's got a beautiful texture and that adds. So not only have you got the illusion of realism, but it's also about paint when you get up close and it's like carved. I think I've dealt with these buildings quite well. They're chunky and loose, but at the same time the draftsmanship's fairly accurate, so they're convincing. Particularly the foreground one, that'll set the stage. You do the foreground one correct, and then you assume the rest are correct, and the rest can just be little marks. But if you do the foreground one all dodgy, and then do these distance ones refined, because the foreground one is the most obvious, in your mind straight away you're going to think, that's not finished, so the whole picture won't look finished. But if you finish the most obvious piece, which is this one, if that's convincing, all of a sudden your mind will think, well, that's convincing, the rest of these marks must be convincing too. Okay, clouds leading your eye up, that nice tonal recession. We've got the darkest darks in here, as I said, leading to the mauves and off into the blues. And then these lovely clouds up in here with warm and cool colours. A little bit of extra lines, little stoby poles, lamp posts, whatever you want to call them. Power poles, little tree trunks, little other marks that could be fence posts, just giving that illusion of detail and activity. But on the whole, pretty happy with what's going on. Some nice colour variety through here with warm paddocks, cool paddocks. All right, in saying all that, why don't we just get the camera off now, come buzzing right in. You guys can have a look and see what you think.